Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about Dungeons & Dragons, and we are specifically going to talk about, is it made of Dungeons & Dragons, right? So there's all, I love that question of what is Dungeons & Dragons, but as we go forward, especially now, there's this huge question, is it made of Dungeons & Dragons, right? And so one of the things that's happening right now is, what is happening with the Dungeons & Dragons talent? First of all, who is the Dungeons & Dragons talent? The Dungeons & Dragons talent are very important, are Daley and Goldstein. They were the heart of Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves. They did the writing and they did the directing on the film. And did have writing help, right? But the reality is, Daley and Goldstein came up through Game Night. Game Night put them on the map, right? But I think, and then at the same time, they got hired for, right after that, off of that, they got hired for Dungeons & Dragons. And then, in addition to that, Daley and Goldstein wrote, right? They have writing credits, they have story credits specifically on the 2023 Flash, right? So Daley and Goldstein, the directors of Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves, what is their next project and what does it mean to Dungeons & Dragons? So their next project is announced. The Daley and Goldstein's next project as directors, okay, is going to be a movie called Mayday. What is it about? We don't know. They actually withheld the logline, and it is amazing. Like, Hollywood is so important, and what they do is so powerful, right, that literally just announcing the next project is a news story in itself. We have no idea what Mayday is going to be, but listen to the connections. And the reason why the connections are important is every single word I'm about to say is the possibility for where Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves sequel comes from. So Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves did not get a sequel based on merit. Okay, it's going to have to do it the Hollywood way. It's going to have to backdoor it, right? There's going to have to be another path to a Dungeons & Dragons sequel. And I do think there is a distinct possibility for a Dungeons & Dragons sequel. Every time Daley and Goldstein move forward and connect with new powerful partners, there's a possibility that somebody can go, let's go back, let's pick up the Dungeons & Dragons franchise, and let's move that ball forward and see if we can, and let's fight for it. Let's fight for a Dungeons & Dragons cinematic universe. Daley and Goldstein really are genuine fans of Dungeons & Dragons, and they are getting bigger and bigger in successes. So who is connected to Mayday, Daley and Goldstein's next movie? Well, it is Ryan Reynolds. He is one of the biggest movie stars on the planet. He owns a soccer team, right? And he has massive successes recently. He did The Adam Project, huge success. He did Free Guy, huge success. We are all eagerly awaiting Deadpool 3, almost certainly going to be a huge success, right? And we're waiting to see what's going to happen with Ryan Reynolds in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So now Daley and Goldstein, right, the two men who are part of the spark that can ignite the DC Cinematic Universe, are now connecting with one of the biggest stars on the planet, right, Ryan Reynolds. In addition to that, they're also connecting with one of the biggest companies in the world, which is Apple and Skydance. So what we have here is we have possibilities for Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves to get its sequel in an unpredictable way, right? Apple, huge problems, right? They just did Ghosted, this movie, like, they had Anna de Armas and I don't know, some other dude, right? And huge problem. Their biggest hit is Ted Lasso, right? They have billions of dollars. They want to be in the content game, right? They did the they have their own streaming service. They do release films, right? And the reality is, I truly believe we understand the power of the Dungeons & Dragons brand. It had a faltering start for its Dungeons & Dragons cinematic universe, but just like Brooklyn Nine-Nine, right? There are other paths to get where we want, to get the sequel we want. And so as Daley and Goldstein move forward, right, connecting to bigger and more powerful companies and global stars, I think there's a possibility that there's going to be conversations that continue to happen around Dungeons & Dragons. And the story of the Dungeons & Dragons cinematic universe may not be over. Now, I'm going to admit, right, this is a roll on a D20, and only a natural 20 is going to bring this back, right? The money on Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves was rough, but as long as Daley and Goldstein continue to love Dungeons & Dragons, as long as Dungeons & Dragons continues to crush it with Stranger Things, right? As long as Dungeons & Dragons has powerful advocates like Matthew Mercer, there's always a chance. And I think Daley and Goldstein are actually very big, very heavy movers in Hollywood. And I think their connections may be what allow us to get our next Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves sequel. It's very exciting that Dungeons & Dragons director's next project is with Apple and with Ryan Reynolds. And I will tell you right now, I think the reason they're able to deliver is they know how to tell stories. How did they learn how to tell stories? They play Dungeons & Dragons. And Dungeons & Dragons transforms lives. And I think Dungeons & Dragons is about to transform Hollywood. Every single word of that is my opinion. What is my humble opinion? What I'd love to hear is your humble opinion. Let me know in the comments below. Please consider subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.